It is pressed. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Look at it. I'm in trouble here because this is just completely rusted. I'm thinking maybe it's easier if these bolts break, do you know that? Then I don't have to deal with this. So I'm just going to whip them off and hopefully they break, I'll replace them. Now I've said I hope they break, I bet they won't. Thought so. Typical. They didn't break. I'm just going to cut them off. Right, this bottom one's not going to be an issue because there's a bolt, or the head of the bolt is there. But the other two, no, even that one's worn. But simple enough. Typical, when you want them to break, they won't. That's the problem, it's just gone rusty. The others are completely knocked off. And I actually thought, at first, I thought the others were pressed in and these bolts had been replaced. That's what I actually thought. But it isn't, it's just that they've completely rusted. And I actually thought, looking at up here, I thought this was a plate welded in, but it's not. It actually cracks and it's a lot worse than I thought. So, the joys. This one might hold, but I very much doubt it. No, I'm just gonna just get the grinder and grind them off. The reason why I did that is so that I can change the angle, so I'm not digging into the actual material, just the head of the bolts. Right, you can see now just how bad this is. We managed to get it off. Obviously the bearing's completely shot, and I think it's also to do with that, because obviously the bearing will be running as the belt's pulling the spinning it, it's also pulling this down, which is causing the bearing to run at an angle. Which would obviously cause it to wear a lot faster, overheat, and then do all sorts. And the vibration of the mower then just making this a hell of a lot worse. But as you can see, it just coming off in sheets. That is grass, but there's a lot of metal behind that grass. All week. It's going to be so awkward because really the whole deck is gone. It's just pure metal coming off. Grass is a killer when you leave it on something. It just keeps the water and it just rusts like crazy. Right, as you can see, hopefully you can see this. Well, obviously you can hear it for a start, but just it's not doing that. But believe me, there's a huge rock These bolts are just too far gone. I'm just going to cut them off because I think I'm going to have to get to a bolt in there. There is a plate here to take this off, but this is not going to allow the shaft to come out. I don't think. There's going to be maybe a circlip and a bolt or something in there. Oh, there isn't. So maybe it is all controlled by there. Okay, must be a circlip under there to allow it. Oh well. There was no harm taking that off anyway. It is pressed. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Look at it. Wow. Wow. It is pressed in. I think we can safely say the bearing's gone, but the problem is now I can't measure it. No. Boom. Simples. God, that's so bad in there. I think this is gone beyond the point of a bearing. It's just rusty and I think we're in trouble here now. Right. This is the issue we have. Look at the pitting inside there. Oh, it actually has. It's taken out. I think this is the line it should be, and it's completely and utterly taken out. That. Fuck. This is fucked. Yeah. Yeah, because the problem is this lip is obviously sticking out further than this, so you'd need a bigger bearing to fit inside this space, but you can't because the lip's in the way. And I don't know how easy it is going to be getting one of these. I can't see it being that easy. Not good, unfortunately. Shaft seems to be okay. That's a shame. Bearing's fucked at the top, but it's still complete. That will be no problem. But this is where, if I had a lathe, I could get that out and see if we could get an oversized bearing, which I don't know. Right, there's two bearings, and as you can see, they're both are press bearings. So in other words, you have to press it into there, and it's the centerpiece that spins. But the problem is, with this one here, you can see how much has been, just get the light in the right place. You can see how much has been eaten away. It's only got this top lip to actually grip. If I push the bearing in there, the whole bearing's going to spin and it's going to rock, and I think it's going to cause exactly the same issue again. There must be about a 2-3 mil lip there, maybe even more, that it's completely eaten away on the inside. Right, as you can see, what I had to get done, I had to get it machined. It was originally a 55 mil bearing, but when it exploded, it actually made the hole 59mm. So I got a 62mm bearing. We got it machined out, we got a circlip on it, as you can see, and yeah, that's the way we had to do it. Had no other choice. Couldn't get a new part, so this is the route we went down, and as you'll see from the rest of the video, it worked out perfectly. Right, I'm doing what you shouldn't do. MIG welder outside and welding on rusty metal. But that's what I'm doing. As you can see, this is what I've got in mind. Now, yes, I know it would be best to completely replace everything and start again, blah, 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 blah. And yes, I know everyone's going to say about the money, but at the end of the day, it's not your money, so I don't understand why people have to say, well, that's not worth it because it's going to cost too much. So, as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm building a framework inside, which I'm welding to the original tub. And then I'm going to use some 3mm steel over the top of everything to really tie it in together. And I'm going to do kind of the same. I'm going to weld like a framework on the other side of it. The issue I've got at the minute, so you can see this crack, it won't allow me to push all the way in because it's rubbing here. So I'm going to have to cut this crack away so I can get it to sit flush before I put my next piece across there. I'm going to put a piece across there, and a couple of pieces across there. That's going to really tie everything in together, and it should be really, really strong then. Right, if you want to see this awesome welder and welder cart being made, and also I'm running this on like a 30 meter extension lead, just on a normal plug in a normal socket, and it's working perfectly. We made this on the channel, 2-part video, and this is the Awesomus Feronius. Sounds like some sort of Greek warrior name, doesn't it? Awesomus Feronius welder. And you'll see that bad boy in action. Right, so here's my thinking. As you can see, I've kind of gouged out the top and the side of the crack, and it's pushed back in nicely. I'm now going to weld plates on this side of the crack all the way around, and then from the other side I can actually gouge them out a bit more and weld straight through to the other side onto the new plate that I've made. So that way it will be really, really strong. So let me clean all this up and put all the plates in, cut all the angles, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. But I think that's going to be the best way. Right, that's my framework absolutely complete, and I've got plates all over where the cracks are, and I've even done it in such a way where I can put a good weld all the way around that square, and it doesn't affect the bearing, and I'll show you that now. As you can see now, the actual hub is on, and it's important that we haven't moved, because if that's to an angle or to the side, it's just going to blow up the bearing again. So that's why I decided to do it this way. But I've left enough room so I can do a nice bead of weld inside there, and it doesn't affect the hub. The hub can come in and out. So now all I got to do is grind kind of them welds flush, weld as much on as possible from the plate to the actual deck of the lawnmower, get it nice and strong before I put my 3mm plate over the top. But now on this side, what I can do is, once I got all that welded up, I can cut out all that crack there, all the way down there, and weld with fresh metal onto the metal I've put in, and then also put a plate around the whole thing to give it a lot of strength. So I can weld all onto my new metal, which is just going to give me so much strength, and it's going to be strong. Right, I've given up trying to weld outside because it's just too difficult, but I've got it all kind of tacked in place. This is the big plate I'm putting over, and all them round holes is where I'm going to drill and spot weld to there, and then put a big bead all the way around because I've got fresh metal. So once I weld the skeleton structure to the actual base of it, and then I'm going to weld this 3mm plate to the skeleton structure, and I'm also going to do the same on the other side where the cracks are. So it's going to be strong. And the thing you do have to be careful of, as you can see, I haven't messed with the height of that, so I haven't put a plate. If I put a plate in between that, it's going to lift it 3mm out this way, which is going to be no good because it means the blades aren't going to line up with the pulleys, and the blade's going to be lower than the other blades over there, so it's going to be no good. So that's why I've left the original structure on there and just welding to it. Right, I am getting actually surprisingly good welds in places. Now, I did that one outside, so that one's terrible, but that's why I'm moving in now. But I'm hitting some really good metal, so this is going to be strong once I actually stitch everything together. But there is obviously a few places which are dodgy, but I've replaced that with new steel. So right now I've put all the rust remedy on it, so what I'm going to do now is put the second plate on the top, stitch weld that all the way around, and also I'm going to seal everything. So I'm going to seal that skeleton frame and also the new plate I put around it, so no water can get in there, well hardly any anyway, and sit there and just cause more damage. Right, I've just schultzed the inside of that now, so now I can put the plate on the top and weld it, seal it, and also schultz it. Right, now look at that, I've sealed it all up, so that's sealer all the way around on the plate, on the big plate, and obviously on the skeleton, so hopefully hardly any water can get in between there. It's all sealed up, it's all protected. It should be good to go. Now we can flip this over and do the far side, but you can see now that is seriously strong. Right, you can see where the weld has been. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean all that now. I'm going to open up all these cracks because I've got 3 mil steel behind that, and I'm going to weld that to the steel and then put a big plate over the whole thing, which should tie everything in. Right, you can see what I've done. It's actually welded quite well, really well actually, because there was a bit of rusty metal there, but once you melt onto the 3 mil plate, the rust just burns out of it and you get to good metal. Now I do have to go over it again. You can see that's just the first one over it, but I am still going to put the big huge plate on it just because it's going to give it that extra more strength, and I might as well while I'm here, and it'll be kind of sandwiched between the two. So yeah, my plan has worked, and I know what people are going to say, well, why didn't you just put the big plate, why did you put the skeleton thing behind it? Because this is not just flat, there's all different angles, and the skeleton frame behind it allowed me to weld to the original deck of the mower, which give it a lot more strength. If I just put the big huge plate, I'd only be able to weld around the edges, I wouldn't be able to weld in the middle. And even spot welds, yes, I could have done it, but to try and bend that 3 mil metal to that shape in a big solid sheet like that is just too difficult. I had to bend each one of them strips to a slightly different shape to get it to fit nicely, so I could have my big 3 mil plate a flat sheet. So we're going to have more or less the same thing to do here, but not the skeleton, just a big metal plate, weld around it. And I have to re-drill new holes there. You can see from that arm that's sticking out, I had to take them bolts out because the plate was underneath, and so still a good bit of work to do, but yeah, we're getting there. Right, so this is the way I'm going to do it. I put some black tape. It's actually it's called silage tape here. It's what you use to repair silage bales, so it's really nice and wide, and I've cut it all out. So that's the shape that's the shape I want to cut out. So I'm going to now peel this off and peel it onto the metal sheets and a trace around it essentially, and cut it all out. And there we go. So now what I'm going to do is cut all that out. Got my plate cut. I've just marked around it where I need to grind all the metal off so I can actually weld to it, and as you can see I've left it in strategic places where I can, that's like a 10 mil plate there, so you know I've left it near some heavy duty things so I can weld it as best as possible. I'm not going to weld the inside, just the 4 bolts that will clamp it down, and that'll be the top done then. And then yeah, we're getting there. Stitch weld it all the way around. I've just put some seal on it again just to stop the water from getting in and kind of rotting from the outside. And once I actually get the thing in itself, the actual hub, I can put a bit of seal around there and let the bolt push down to seal all that hole, the big hole in the middle, and we'll be absolutely fine. But what I'm going to do now is just clean all this down, schultz all this area. We can paint it later, but at least it's protected with schultz, and we are good to go. Just got to weld the wheels on next because he wants the wheels to go further down because they're not high enough. It's not lifting the deck high enough. So the last bit on this is to do the wheels. It's all done. The sealers all around. Yeah, it looks a little bit messy, but at the end of the day it's just a lawnmower. It's going to be covered in grass and crap. Once we do it all properly, we will be painting it all green, but for the time being at least that protects it. It stops any more moisture or water sitting in there. Just bolt up the hub, put the stem in, put the bolts on, put the belts on. What else? Do the wheels, and I think that's about it. Right, look, All the blades are sharp. All that is done. What he is going to do is we're going to do the other side after this summer. He wants to get his grass done, and then we've got a lot more time to do it. That side was working. It is a bit rusty, but this side was the worst. So we're going to do the rest in the winter. But as you can see, I've got it all back together. All the new bolts, all the new pulleys, all the new belts. It's all good. And yeah, good to go. Just got to put the front wheels on now. That's it. I know I keep banging on about this welder, and believe me, I'm no welder. I'm used to welding car panels, but not thick, heavy steel like this. And it's just making me look good. The welder, this Feronius strand steel 220 is just phenomenal. It makes me look good, and that's difficult to do. Turn, it's lower than what it originally was, as you can see. So all I've got to do is do the other side, and then, like I said, we'll come back in the winter and we'll completely do everything. Don't know if I'll film that because it'd be essentially the same thing. Right, people, look, we've got it all back together. It's all on. The hydraulics working perfectly. PTO on. Everything. We've still got to do more work to it and paint it green and all that sort of stuff, but it's going to get him through the winter now. It's all on. Looking good. Look at it. Beautiful. Right, that's it down on the floor. And when we want to lift it, all we need to do is lift it up, look. And it comes up. How cool is that, people? How cool is that? See the wheels turn, the wheels slightly off. He's lifted it a little bit higher because, as you can see, the grass is really, really long. But it's working well. It's working really, really well. I'm happy. 3 blades cutting now. He has to go over it a few times because the grass is really long. But as you go, so there it is, we fixed it, it's working. So as always, please like, share, comment and subscribe. Don't forget, links up here, links down below, but most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one. Sorted. Here's his garden, look.